I think it's a shame. I think it's very sad. I think it's so bad for the royal family. It's a very, very sad. To me, it's a very sad thing. When I see that, it's a very sad thing to see it and to see what's going on with his brother, who's obviously coming to our country very soon, and he's a fantastic man, the king. So I think it's a very sad thing. It's really interesting because nobody used to speak about Epstein when he was alive, but now they speak. But I'm the one that can talk about it because I've been totally exonerated. I did nothing.
Not for nothing. Nobody asked him, but okay. Tara, he did do something, though. He called, as Chrissy just reminded us, the Palm Beach sheriff, described Ghislaine Maxwell as totally evil. He also, in his own telling, was mad that Jeffrey Epstein took someone from him, and that someone was Virginia. Stole someone from him. Was Virginia.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? And now the Epstein files are all about exonerating him, not what they're revealing to the public about a story that has been obviously not a story, but a case that has been pushed aside for so long. It's a sad day. I mean, a lot of people feel vindicated. I think most people feel that way. I think a lot of people feel like finally power is no longer protecting itself anymore, that even elites have to face the music sometimes. But perhaps in the president's world, that's not the case. Some people are kings and they don't have to deal with this. So I don't think the rest of America, especially not the people that voted for him, the populist base, would think it was so sad that someone who committed a crime didn't have to pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, 86% of all Americans, that's almost, not, strongly or somewhat disagree with the statement that the Epstein files show that powerful people agree with the fact that the Epstein files show that powerful people are rarely held accountable. Only 11% of people disagree with them, which is probably the membership at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, this is like a 90-10 issue. There is no disagreement in the country that for kings and presidents, and then I guess commerce secretaries, there's no consequence to being associated with a dead, convicted child sex trafficker. But you know, even the Lutnick statement, the Lutnick statement is so important because it projects such knowledge of child predation. He says, I went in with 3 nannies and 3 kids, and I came out with those 3 nannies and 3 kids. Like, nobody asked him. Nobody asked for a head count. Nobody asked if he took roll in and out. But only someone who knows that young children and women were potential prey for Jeffrey Epstein says before Congress, I went to the island for lunch. Oops, sorry, forgot to tell you, but I went in with 3 nannies and I came out with those 3 nannies.
Wow. Right? It's a little oversharing, right? And the same way that some would say overshared when he volunteered to the New York Post in that podcast, that he only went to his neighbor, Jeffrey Epstein's house once, and he was creeped out and he was there with his wife and he quickly left. But it was just kind of like a voyeuristic interest in seeing what goes on in there. He saw a massage table. He just volunteered that. And turns out he was lying all along. He said he cut off contact after that. No, you wanted to go to his island. Or Elon Musk, who was like, Trump's going to get blown up in the Epstein files. And here he is being like, party, party, party. Can I come to your island? Girls, girls, girls. It's like, okay, bro, we know what you're all about. It's revealing how many people are in leadership positions or are close to those, advising those in leadership positions. And they're not high-minded people. They're not thinking about their roles in society or trying to better society. In fact, when you read these Epstein files, they're mostly about sex and how to avoid penalties and how to control the system. They're not about doing anything good for the world.
Yeah. I mean, Michael, let me ask you that. I mean, Prime Minister Starmer's prime ministership was at least a week ago in a tenuous state. Does he have any interest to be a good actor here and aggressively investigate these allegations?
I mean, he does, I think, and there's no direct connection that he has to the files. But the problem is that his judgment has been called into question. The reason that his premiership was at risk was because, rightly, people pointed out that he had appointed Peter Mandelson to be ambassador to the U.S. at a time when there was lots publicly known about the relationship between Peter Mandelson and Jeffrey Epstein. And, the question that the prime minister's critics have asked repeatedly is, how could you do that? And the answer, I think, really, if Starmer were being honest and all these other people were being honest, is that it's about the elite protecting each other, right? That's what people have been so frustrated about with the royals protecting each other. And I think the reason it appeals to Trump's populist base is that there's at least this sense that has helped to power Trump to office the first time and again the second time, that somehow there is this kind of elite group of rich, connected, lawyers, business executives, politicians who all look out for each other. And what the Epstein files, the release of the documents do, is it finally blows that apart. It provides ammunition to describe exactly how that protection scheme worked. And to your question about Starmer, I mean, I think he's got an interest in pushing some of these prosecutions, but it's sort of self-interested now because it's a way of defending himself and the judgments that he made early on.
Right after the fact. Here's something else happening. This news has broken since we've been on the air, Christy. And I'll just read it to you. Special agents and prosecutors at the New Mexico Department of Justice will be seeking immediate access to the complete unredacted federal case file and intend to work collaboratively with our law enforcement partners as well as the Epstein Truth Commission recently established by the New Mexico legislature. That is the New Mexico Department of Justice Chief of Staff and spokesperson Lauren Rodriguez writing in an email statement. So another sort of tectonic shift following the passage of the Epstein Transparency Act, new investigations, new scrutiny on the crimes that allegedly happened at Jeffrey Epstein's New Mexico residence.
It's long overdue. It really didn't make sense to me why, when they went to execute search warrants in the U.S. Virgin Islands and in Manhattan, why they also didn't look at New Mexico. We can see in the files there are plenty of victims who talked about New Mexico, who said they were abused in New Mexico. It would seem like that would provide the probable cause you would need to get a search warrant for that property.
It gets back to Tara's point that they didn't believe the women.
I mean, possibly. I don't know. It's certainly an oversight, and it's certainly something that I'm glad they're doing now. But, this is years later. So how many documents, how many devices, how many things have been destroyed? I mean, it's when you have a crime scene, and that's exactly what his ranch in New Mexico is. You preserve the crime scene so that they can't destroy evidence. So, I don't know how much they will be able to learn, but it's good that they're trying.
I mean, I guess the last point here, Tara, is that Donald Trump tried to say there was nothing to see here. They made big binders. They filled them with a whole lot of nothing. They put out a memo in the middle of the night at the beginning of the summer and said, we've looked and there's nothing. Kash Patel, after going on Joe Rogan and saying there are a gazillion gigabytes of evidence, went before Congress and said there were no co-conspirators. Nobody else committed crimes. Nobody else was a sex trafficker. The files come out because of a bipartisan act of Congress based on a public revolt. I mean, I sit here every day. I don't read the number 86% of Americans agreeing that up is that way and down is that way. They agree on nothing. And they believe
there is
that the elite and the politicians, that there's some scheme to prevent accountability from happening.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a universal issue right now. It's creating a real uprising against the elites, and I don't think this is a bipartisan one, like you said. I think there needs to be some accountability in this case. There is a feeling that there is injustice, and the more we see our allies abroad actually pursuing justice in this case, I think the more Americans are going to get angry and wondering what's happening here. This is not going to stop at their shores.